Hello and welcome to Sleepy Facts for Dreamers, a place where the noise of the day gently melts away. In this tranquil place we slow down, breathe deeper, and drift into calm. Whether you're here to rest, relax, or escape into peaceful stories, let the quiet guide you. Get cozy. Your journey to dreamland begins now. Somewhere in the quiet heart of winter, when the air still carries the cool hush of night, lanterns begin to glow. Across cities and villages, across mountains and rivers, families gather beneath red paper lights, their soft gold flicker swaying like small suns against the darkness. It is the Lunar New Year, not January 1st, but the turning of the moon. The calendar shifts not by number alone, but by sky, by season, by the ancient rhythm of light and shadow. In 2026, as the moon renews itself in February, the great cycle turns once more, and the world enters the year of the horse, a fire horse year, a year that has come and gone before, every 60 years, moving through history like hoofbeats echoing across time. Tonight, as fireworks bloom and red envelopes pass from hand to hand, we pause to remember that the zodiac is more than symbol. It is a way of marking time, a way of weaving astronomy with story, a way of remembering that human life unfolds in cycles, just as seasons do. So let us settle in now, as though seated beside a window watching distant lanterns rise. Let us travel gently into the world of the Chinese Zodiac. The Chinese Zodiac, known as Shengxiao, birth likeness, is a cycle of 12 animals. Each year carries the name of one. There is the rat, the ox, the tiger, the rabbit, the snake, the horse, the goat, the monkey, the rooster, the dog, the pig. 12 companions, 12 mirrors, 12 ways of imagining the human heart. But the zodiac did not begin as personality lore. Long before horoscopes, before compatibility charts, before baby booms and dragon years, there was timekeeping. Ancient scholars charted the heavens carefully. They observed Jupiter's long, patient journey across the sky, a journey of roughly 12 years. The planet became a celestial metronome, and alongside it developed the 12 earthly branches, a system used to count years, months, days, even the double hours of a single day. Only later were animals attached to these branches, perhaps as mnemonic tools, perhaps as echoes of older animal totems, perhaps because human beings understand time more easily when it has a face, a shape, a living presence. By the Han Dynasty, the animal cycle was firmly rooted in Chinese cosmology. It marked reign years. It dated official documents. It structured ritual timing. The zodiac was not superstition. It was order. Each animal also came to represent a 2-hour segment of the day. Rat hour, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., when the world is quiet and subtle life begins to stir. Horse hour, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., when the sun stands high and energy is at its peak. Time itself was imagined as breathing, moving through 12 living forms. Over centuries, stories gathered around these animals. The dragon became power. The rabbit became gentleness. The ox became steadfast labor. And gradually, people began to say, if you are born in a certain year, you carry something of that creature within you. Not fate exactly, but likeness, a reflection, a rhythm. Thus the zodiac became personal, and yet it remained cosmic, because beneath the 12 animals lies an even deeper structure, the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, water. Each year is not only an animal, but an animal infused with one of these elemental phases. The cycle becomes 60 years long. A wood dragon, a metal rabbit, a fire horse. 60 years before the pattern repeats itself. 60 years, a human lifetime, a grand turning. And so, when we speak of 2026 as a fire horse year, we are invoking not just a symbol, but an ancient architecture of time. An architecture that has carried empires, rebellions, harvests, and quiet domestic evenings across millennia. And in this great turning, the horse waits. But before we meet the horse fully, we must hear the story of how the animals took their places. For legend, too, is part of time. Long ago, in the realm where myth and sky meet, it is said that the Jade Emperor wished to measure time for the human world. The heavens were vast and orderly, but earthly life needed a rhythm it could recognize. So he called upon the animals and declared that 12 would be chosen. Their order would shape the cycle of years, turning again and again like the moon itself. To decide the sequence, a great river would be crossed. Whoever reached the celestial gate first would hold the first year. The next would follow, and so time would unfold. The river was wide and cold, its current swift. Some animals were strong swimmers, others were not. Some relied on cleverness, some on patience, some on cooperation. The rat and the cat were said to be companions, small and anxious about the challenge ahead. Neither trusted the water, so they approached the steady ox, whose broad back and tireless strength made him the most reliable of travelers. The ox agreed to carry them across, stepping calmly into the river, pushing against the current with quiet endurance. As they neared the opposite bank, when the ox had nearly secured first place through sheer diligence, the rat leapt forward. In many tellings, he nudged the cat into the water in that final instant, ensuring he alone would reach the shore first. Whether betrayal or instinct, the rat arrived at the gate before all others, claiming the first year. The ox followed a breath later, patient even in second place. The tiger came next, exhausted but fierce. He had battled the current head-on, nearly swept downstream more than once, yet refused to surrender. His third place was earned through raw strength and courage. The rabbit, light and clever, did not swim deeply. Instead, it leapt across stones and driftwood, improvising its path. Some stories say that when it nearly slipped beneath the water, the dragon paused mid-flight to send a gust of wind beneath a floating log, guiding the rabbit safely onward. And so the rabbit arrived fourth. Then came the dragon, expected by many to win with ease. Yet the dragon had delayed its own victory. Seeing villages suffering from drought, it had summoned rain before continuing the race. Seeing the rabbit in danger, it had intervened again. Compassion slowed its arrival, but earned it the fifth year. The snake moved quietly. Coiled unseen around the horse's leg, it traveled without effort until the very last moment. As the horse galloped toward the finish line, powerful and bright beneath the sun, the snake slipped forward in a flash. Startled, the horse hesitated just long enough to claim 7th place instead of 6th. And so the snake became 6th and the horse 7th, a position of fire and noon and summer heat. The goat, the monkey, and the rooster arrived together upon a small raft. Each had contributed differently, one clearing weeds, one steering, one steadying the craft. Their cooperation pleased the emperor, and they were granted the 8th, 9th, and 10th years in turn. The dog, strong swimmer though it was, arrived 11th. It had paused to play in the cool water, distracted by joy. And finally, the pig arrived last, having stopped midway to eat and rest before finishing the race. Thus the 12 animals took their places: rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, pig, and so the years began to turn. In some versions, the cat never forgave the rat. In others, the cat simply overslept, misinformed, or careless. Outside the story, historians note that domestic cats may not have been widespread when the zodiac system first formed. Yet folklore keeps the memory alive, explaining why cats chase rats even now, as if still remembering an ancient rivalry. But whether myth or metaphor, the Great Race is not merely a story of competition. It is a story of character, cleverness, endurance, compassion, cooperation, playfulness, appetite, surprise. Each animal embodies a facet of human nature. Each one shows a way of crossing the river. Beneath this legend lies another structure, the 5 elements. Wood, fire, earth, metal, and water do not represent substances alone, but phases of transformation. Wood feeds fire. Fire creates earth and ash. Earth bears metal. Metal carries water. Water nourishes wood again, a generating cycle, endlessly renewing. There is also a controlling cycle. Metal cuts wood. Wood parts earth. Earth absorbs water. Water extinguishes fire. Fire melts metal. Balance is maintained not through stillness, but through relationship. Each zodiac animal holds a fixed elemental association. Tiger and rabbit align with wood. Snake and horse with fire. Monkey and rooster with metal, pig and rat with water, ox, dragon, goat, and dog with earth. And beyond that fixed nature, each birth year carries its own elemental overlay, forming the great 60-year cycle. A fire horse returns only once every 60 years. When it does, it carries a particular intensity. The horse itself is linked to the south, to summer, to the hours when the sun stands highest. It is considered a yang sign, expansive, outward, energetic. Its traditional traits speak of independence, movement, animation, charisma. Horses in the zodiac are described as spirited, restless, adventurous. Add fire to that foundation, and the image brightens further. Fire brings passion, momentum, transformation. It can illuminate. It can also consume. In historical retrospect, some fire horse years have coincided with upheaval or rapid change. Yet historians remind us that events arise from human decisions, political tensions, economic realities, not from constellations alone. The zodiac offers metaphor more than mechanism. Still, metaphor shapes imagination. 1966, a fire horse year. is often remembered for the beginning of the Cultural Revolution in mainland China. Scholars explain its origins through ideology and power struggle, yet cultural memory sometimes frames it through the lens of fiery energy, bold, disruptive, difficult to contain. Earlier fire horse years stretch back through dynasties. During the Han, the Jin, the Tang, the Song, the Ming, the Qing. In 646, during the Tang dynasty's expansionist phase, cavalry power symbolized imperial strength. In 1366, as the Ming founder Zhu Yuanzhang rose toward establishing a new order, horse symbolism would later be woven into narratives of dynamism and renewal. These connections are often retrospective, poetic rather than causal, but they reveal how deeply the horse has been associated with vigor, conquest, expansion, and motion. In truth, horses shaped Chinese history in tangible ways. During the Qin and Han dynasties, cavalry transformed warfare. Emperor Wu of Han famously sought the heavenly horses of Fergana, swift and powerful steeds from Central Asia, believing that superior horses could secure the empire's borders and extend its reach along the Silk Road. The War of the Heavenly Horses was fought not for myth, but for muscle and breath and speed across vast terrain. In the Tang dynasty, imperial stud farms and state pastures supported a cavalry that became emblematic of the dynasty's golden age. Court paintings depicted dancing horses beneath silk banners. Poems praised their strength. A fine horse became a metaphor for rare human talent. The thousand-li horse, capable of traveling great distances, symbolizing individuals whose gifts required recognition. To recognize a thousand-li horse became shorthand for wise leadership, for seeing potential where others might not. Thus, the horse in Chinese culture is not abstract alone. It is muscular, historical, dust-covered, real, and yet it also runs through the imagination. As Lunar New Year unfolds, and families exchange red envelopes, and children learn which animal year they were born into, the zodiac becomes intimate again. It appears on postage stamps, lanterns, calendars. It influences wedding dates and business openings. Some people consult compatibility charts: rat with dragon and monkey, tiger with horse and dog, forming affinity triangles said to harmonize temperament. Others note clashing pairs: rat and horse, dragon and dog, rabbit and rooster, symbolic oppositions used in folk advice. In one's own Benming Nian, when the birth animal returns every 12 years, protective red garments are often worn, gifted by loved ones, as a way of navigating potential challenges. The zodiac breathes in daily life. It maps not only years but hours, not only personalities but directions. The horse, aligned with the south in summer, carries heat and brightness. In feng shui traditions, the southeast wealth sector may be activated symbolically with wood to nourish fire, balancing energies within a space. Ritual practices arise around new moons and full moons, some ancient, some modern reinterpretations, blending lunar yin with solar yang. Yet beneath all ritual and forecasting lies something simpler. The zodiac is a language of cycles. It reminds us that no energy is permanent. That fire must be tempered by water. That speed must be guided by discipline. That boldness requires grounding. And so, as 2026 approaches its fire horse turning, the invitation is not frenzy, but awareness. To move with purpose. To harness momentum without losing direction. To remember that the horse runs best when it is both free and guided. In the quiet hours before sleep, imagine the steady rhythm of hooves across open land. Not frantic, not chaotic, but strong and assured. The year of the horse arrives not to overwhelm, but to awaken. And as lanterns fade into embers and winter yields slowly towards spring, we recognize once more the beauty of a 60-year circle completing itself and beginning again. There is something about the horse that feels deeply human, not because we resemble it in form, but because we recognize something of ourselves in its motion. The horse stands between wildness and partnership. It carries both freedom and responsibility within the same body. It can roam open plains untethered, or it can draw a cart, carry a rider, pull a plow, charge into battle, cross deserts, follow trade routes into unknown lands. Few animals have walked so closely beside human history. And yet, even domesticated, the horse never fully loses its spirit. There remains a flicker in its eyes, a readiness to run, a sensitivity to sound, a response to wind. Perhaps this is why the horse in the zodiac is associated with independence, with restlessness, with a desire for space. But independence does not mean isolation. In the great race, the horse nearly claimed 6th place, swift, determined, powerful. Yet it was startled by the hidden snake. That small hesitation altered its ranking. The story reminds us that speed alone does not guarantee outcome. Awareness matters. Balance matters. In many traditions, the horse symbolizes travel, not only across land, but across phases of life. Youth often feels like a horse year, energetic, forward-driving, unwilling to be contained. Middle age may resemble earth, stabilizing, anchoring. Later years may echo water, reflective, deep. The zodiac offers these images not as limits, but as metaphors for change. A fire horse year, then, can be imagined as a period when movement accelerates, when ideas ignite quickly, when courage feels closer to the surface. Such energy can inspire innovation, bold career decisions, artistic leaps, journeys to unfamiliar places. But fire must be guided. A hearth flame warms the home. A wildfire overwhelms it. The older cosmologies understood this intimately. Fire depends on wood for fuel. It is shaped by Earth's containment. It is cooled by water. It melts metal and reshapes it. Nothing exists alone. In 2026, as the fire horse cycle returns once more, it does so within this larger web. The last fire horse year, in 1966, unfolded during a time of immense political and cultural upheaval in China. While historians attribute events to ideology and leadership struggles rather than astrology, the symbolic memory of that year lingers. People often look backward and see the fire in hindsight: intensity, disruption, transformation. And yet fire horse years across the centuries have also coincided with renewal, reform, artistic brilliance, economic momentum. They have seen both galloping success and difficult reckoning. Perhaps this duality is the truest reflection of fire itself. It is not destiny. It is potential. When we step away from prediction and return to reflection, the horse becomes less about fortune and more about posture. How do we carry ourselves in motion? How do we respond to change? The horse does not creep. It moves openly. It trusts its legs. It feels the ground directly. There is something soothing in that image, even within speed. Hooves striking earth in steady rhythm, breath visible in cool air, muscles working in harmony. As Lunar New Year continues to unfold, lanterns glowing, families gathering, red envelopes exchanged with wishes for prosperity and health, the zodiac becomes a quiet companion in the celebration. It reminds us that years are not isolated chapters, but linked passages in a long narrative. Some people mark their Benming Nian, their own zodiac year, with red garments for protection. Some consult compatibility charts, looking to affinity trines such as tiger, horse, and dog, said to harmonize naturally. Others smile at the idea and move on, carrying the symbol lightly. Whether taken literally or metaphorically, the zodiac persists because it offers rhythm. It tells us that time circles back, that after fire comes earth, after intensity comes grounding, after motion comes rest. And so, as the year of the horse unfolds, imagine not a frantic sprint, but a long horizon. Imagine open fields beneath a wide sky, the sun high but not scorching, the path clear but not urgent. The horse lowers its head, breath steady. It begins to move, not because it is chased, not because it must outrun something unseen, but because movement itself is part of its nature. You too move through seasons. There have been years of wood, growth and reaching, years of fire, passion and visibility, years of earth, responsibility and steadiness, years of metal, clarity and refinement, years of water, reflection and quiet depth. None permanent, all necessary. As we drift toward sleep now, let the image soften further. The lanterns outside have burned low. The final firecrackers echo faintly in the distance. The air grows still. Somewhere beyond the village, beyond the city, beyond the mountain pass, a horse stands beneath a night sky. No saddle, no bridle, just quiet breath rising in silver mist. The stars turn slowly overhead. Jupiter, once used as a celestial clock, continues its patient orbit, 12 years tracing a vast arc across the heavens. The earthly branches align again. The cycle completes another turn. The horse does not rush. It shifts its weight gently. It listens. The year ahead is not yet written. It is only beginning. And like all cycles before it, it will carry light and shadow, momentum and pause, laughter and stillness. For now, rest in the rhythm. Inhale slowly. Exhale softly. Imagine the steady cadence of hooves fading into distance, becoming quieter, softer, until they blend with your own breathing. The wheel continues turning, but tonight you may simply lie still. The year of the horse arrives in its own time, and you are already exactly where you need to be. Long before calendars were printed and dates were counted in digits, time was felt in cycles of moonlight and harvest, in frost forming along riverbanks, in swallows returning to familiar eaves. The Lunar New Year does not begin with a number. It begins with a new moon, a darkened sky, a quiet reset, and in that darkness there is permission to rest. The zodiac animals do not rush their arrival. They follow one another patiently, each waiting its turn within the great turning of years. When the horse steps forward in 2026, it does so because the circle has brought it there, not because it forced its way ahead. This is important to remember. The horse symbolizes movement, yes, energy, momentum, but true movement is not frantic. It is rhythmic. It rises and falls like breath. If you have ever watched a horse in an open field at dusk, you may have noticed that it does not gallop endlessly. It runs in bursts, powerful, joyful. And then it slows. It lowers its head. It grazes. It stands quietly, ears flicking at the sound of wind. Motion and stillness exist together. So too, in the year of the horse, there may be moments that feel bright and forward-driving. Ideas that spark quickly. Opportunities that ask for courage. Paths that invite exploration. But there will also be long stretches of calm. The ancient cosmology teaches that fire, when balanced, brings illumination. It reveals what was hidden. It clarifies intention. In its warmth, communities gather. Stories are told. Meals are shared. Laughter carries through open windows during festival nights. Chinese New Year or Spring Festival is filled with such warmth. Families travel long distances to reunite. Red banners with gold characters hang on door frames, inscribed with blessings for prosperity, harmony, and longevity. Dumplings are folded carefully by many hands. Fish is served to symbolize abundance. Children receive red envelopes, not simply as gifts of money, but as gestures of protection and goodwill. Each tradition carries memory forward, and as the zodiac changes, these customs remain. They anchor the year, reminding everyone that even as energy shifts, continuity endures. The horse in Chinese art is often depicted mid-stride, mane flowing, muscles defined, eyes alert. The brush strokes suggest vitality and grace. Yet the space around the horse, the negative space, is equally important. It gives the movement room to exist. Perhaps this is the deeper wisdom of the horse here. Movement needs space. Ambition needs rest. Fire needs a hearth. If you are listening to this now as part of a long, quiet night, let that idea settle gently. There is no demand to gallop through the coming months. There is only an invitation to move when it feels natural, to pause when you need to trust that cycles unfold whether or not you force them. Across centuries, people have looked at the zodiac and searched for signs, for certainty, for reassurance, for patterns that might make uncertainty softer. The zodiac does not remove unpredictability, but it does offer perspective. It reminds us that change is not chaos, it is rhythm. 12 animals, 5 elements, 60 years completing a full cycle before beginning again. Imagine someone born 60 years ago, during the last fire horse year. They have now lived through an entire elemental turn. They have seen wood years of growth, earth years of grounding, metal years of refinement, water years of reflection. They have watched history rise and settle, technologies emerge and transform daily life. And now the fire horse returns, not as repetition but as continuation. This is how time truly moves, not in straight lines but in spirals, returning, yet never exactly the same. As we drift closer to the quiet edge of sleep, let the spiral slow. Let the fire soften into embers. Let the horse settle beside a stream beneath a sky brushed with faint starlight. You may hear in your imagination the gentle shift of hooves against soil, the steady inhale, the long, calm exhale. In ancient thought, harmony between heaven, earth, and humanity was the ideal state. The zodiac was one way to observe that harmony, to align personal intention with seasonal flow. Tonight, harmony might mean something simple: a steady breath, a relaxed jaw, shoulders lowering just slightly. The year of the horse does not require you to prove anything. It does not measure your speed. It does not demand spectacle. It simply offers a symbol of vitality, of freedom, of forward motion tempered by awareness. As Chinese New Year lanterns sway in cool night air, as fireworks fade into memory, as families rest after celebration, the wheel continues turning quietly. The horse waits at the edge of dawn, and somewhere in that dawn, there is possibility. But for now, there is only this moment, gentle, unhurried, complete. Let your thoughts graze softly like horses in wide fields. Let them wander without urgency. The fire burns low. The stars move patiently overhead. And you, carried by the rhythm of ancient cycles, may drift deeper into rest. The year of the horse will arrive in its own time. For tonight, simply be still. Within the Chinese Zodiac, no year stands alone. Beneath every animal flows one of the 5 elements, and together they create a cycle of 60 distinct combinations, 60 tones in a larger harmony. The horse returns every 12 years, but it never returns exactly the same. Sometimes it arrives as wood, sometimes as fire, sometimes as earth, metal, or water. Each element alters the temperament of the horse, not changing its essential nature, but shading it gently, like light passing through colored glass. Let us move through them slowly. Wood is the element of growth, of springtime, of reaching toward sunlight. It is flexible yet resilient, like bamboo bending in wind without breaking. A wood horse carries the horse's natural energy, but it is guided by curiosity and expansion rather than intensity. This horse is imaginative, collaborative, often idealistic. It seeks new ideas the way roots seek water. There is enthusiasm here, but it grows organically rather than explosively. Would years feel like beginnings? New projects, new friendships, new paths emerging. There is movement, but it is exploratory, not urgent. If you imagine a young horse galloping across an open meadow for the first time, mane lifted by fresh wind, that is wood energy. Joyful, discovering, alive with possibility. Fire is summer at its height. Bright, visible, impossible to ignore. When the horse aligns with fire, its inherent vitality intensifies. Passion runs close to the surface. Charisma feels magnetic. Action comes quickly. Fire horse years are often remembered vividly. They are associated with boldness, with cultural shifts, personal awakenings, daring risks. Fire can illuminate hidden truths, but it can also burn fiercely if not balanced. And yet, even fire must rest at night. In 1966, the fire horse returned during a period of dramatic upheaval in China. Many later reflected on the symbolism, the blaze of ideology, the intensity of collective change. But astrology did not cause those events. It simply became a lens through which people understood their emotional experience of the time. In 2026, the fire horse returns again, but it does so in a different world. Fire never repeats itself exactly. It flickers differently depending on the wood that feeds it, the wind that touches it, the hands that tend it. Perhaps this fire horse year will illuminate creativity, innovation, renewal, or perhaps it will simply encourage courage. The courage to step forward when the path feels uncertain. Fire does not demand chaos. It offers light. After the heat of summer comes grounding. Earth is balance, stability, nourishment. It is the soil that receives the fallen leaves of wood, the ashes of fire, the ores that metal refines, the streams that water shapes. An earth horse is steady, practical, reliable. It still carries independence, but it moves with consideration. Decisions are thoughtful. Commitments are honored carefully. Earth horse years often feel productive rather than dramatic. They are years of building foundations, strengthening systems, tending what has already begun to grow. Imagine a horse standing calmly beside a riverbank at twilight. Not racing, not restless, simply present, hooves firm against the ground, breath even. That is earth energy, reassuring, stabilizing. Metal refines. It clarifies. It cuts away excess. A metal horse is determined and focused. There is strength here, sometimes sharp, sometimes uncompromising. Metal aligns with autumn, when leaves fall and the air becomes crisp. It is a season of assessment. Metal horse years may bring decisions that require precision. Boundaries drawn clearly, paths chosen deliberately. It can feel bracing, like cool wind across the face, but also clarifying. Metal does not rush like fire, nor wander like wood. It advances with intention. If fire is a blaze and wood is a sprout, metal is the forged blade, shaped by heat, cooled by patience. And finally, water. Water is winter. Depth, reflection, potential gathering quietly beneath still surfaces. A water horse may seem gentler, more intuitive. There is movement, yes, but it flows rather than charges. Emotional intelligence runs deep. Adaptability becomes strength. Water horse years often feel contemplative. Travel may be internal as much as external. Questions surface. Memory deepens. Imagine a horse walking slowly along the edge of a mist-covered lake before dawn. Each step careful, each breath visible in cold air. The world hushed. Water holds space for renewal. Together, these 5 expressions create the full portrait of the horse across 60 years. No single element defines it completely. No year is only one thing. Just as a person is never only their zodiac sign, never only their birth element. We shift across circumstances. We are wood in youth, fire in ambition, earth in responsibility, metal in discernment, water in wisdom, and often all within a single lifetime. The elemental system reminds us that identity is fluid, that change is natural, that intensity softens and softness strengthens. Asterisk. As 2026 unfolds under the sign of the fire horse, it may feel luminous at moments. It may ask for boldness. It may illuminate what has long remained unspoken. But beneath that brightness lies the full cycle. Wood waiting to grow again, earth preparing to stabilize, metal ready to refine, water gathering quietly in the distance. Nothing stands alone, and so, as we rest here in the gentle quiet of night, imagine the 60-year wheel turning slowly. Wood horse, fire horse, earth horse, metal horse, water horse, again and again. Not repetition, but rhythm. The horse, in all its elemental forms, teaches motion with awareness, speed with breath, passion with grounding. And now, as the chapter closes, let the elements soften into something even quieter. In the distance, a small fire glows low. Beyond it, fields stretch beneath starlight. A horse grazes peacefully, unconcerned with labels or cycles. It simply exists within the turning of seasons. And you too exist within this turning, held gently by patterns older than memory. Breathe in, breathe out. The wheel continues, and we drift onward. Long before trains crossed continents or ships carved steady lines through oceans, there were caravans. And beneath those caravans always were hooves. The Silk Road was not a single road, but a network, a weaving of paths stretching from the heart of China westward through deserts, mountains, and fertile valleys. Silk, porcelain, spices, precious stones, and stories moved along these routes. So did ideas, Buddhism traveling east, glass-making techniques moving west, music blending across cultures. And carrying so much of this exchange were horses. In the early Han Dynasty, Emperor Wu understood something essential. Strong horses meant strong borders. He sent envoys westward in search of superior breeds, animals said to sweat blood, though in truth it was likely a parasitic condition that gave the illusion of crimson foam. They were called the heavenly horses, swift, enduring, capable of crossing vast terrain without faltering. To secure them, wars were fought, alliances were forged, entire campaigns were launched simply to ensure access to better horses. This was not sentimentality, it was survival. In the north, nomadic steppe cultures had mastered horseback warfare for centuries. Their mobility allowed them to appear and vanish like wind across grasslands. Sedentary empires learned quickly that without strong cavalry, their cities were vulnerable. So horses were bred carefully. Pastures were guarded. Grooms, trainers, and riders developed systems of care and discipline that balanced strength with trust. Yet even within this military reality, there was reverence. In Tang Dynasty art, horses appear robust and almost luminous. Sculptures from that era show them with rounded flanks and arched necks, standing proudly as if aware of their own beauty. They were symbols of prosperity, openness, and international exchange. Chang'an, the Tang capital, became one of the largest cities in the world, filled with foreign merchants and ambassadors. Horses were everywhere, tethered outside inns, parading in ceremonial reviews, painted onto silk scrolls. The empire's confidence could be seen in its horses. And when decline came, as it always does in cycles, the imagery shifted. Chroniclers would describe weakened cavalry as a sign of faltering governance. A tired horse became a metaphor for a tired state. In this way, the horse was never only an animal. It was a mirror. Across Central Asia, along dusty trade routes, the sound of hooves meant connection. It meant goods would arrive. It meant news from distant lands. It meant survival through winter. Imagine, for a moment, a caravan moving slowly beneath a vast desert sky. The air is dry. The sand glows pale beneath moonlight. Each horse steps carefully, guided by starlight and the quiet confidence of its handler. There is no rushing here. Distance is measured in days, not minutes. Breath rises and falls with the rhythm of walking. Even the wind seems to move more slowly. The Silk Road reminds us that movement can be deliberate. That speed is not always the goal. That sometimes the most transformative journeys are patient ones. The horsehair, especially a fire horsehair, may carry energy, yes. But energy does not have to be chaotic. It can be steady as a caravan, purposeful as a trade route, intentional as a rider who knows the terrain ahead. As you listen now, perhaps your mind drifts like those caravans once did. Thoughts crossing vast inner landscapes. Memories surfacing like distant oases. Let them travel without urgency. Across centuries, the horse has also appeared in poetry. In the works of Li Bai and Du Fu, horses gallop through verses as symbols of longing, ambition, and exile. A rider leaving home might glance back only once before disappearing beyond a mountain pass. A loyal steed might carry a message through night rain. A young soldier's horse might be described as spirited, unaware of the sorrow that awaits its rider. These poems do not glorify speed alone. They dwell in feeling, the quiet ache of departure, the hope of return. The horse becomes emotion in motion, and so we return gently to 2026. The fire horse approaches once more, not across desert, not through battlefields, but through calendars and quiet midnight reflections. It carries symbolism rather than cargo, possibility rather than certainty. The world now is vastly different from ancient dynasties. Satellites circle above. Digital messages travel faster than any gallop. Yet the metaphor endures. We still speak of horsepower when describing engines. We still describe someone as having a free spirit. We still long, in quiet ways, for open space. Perhaps this is why the horse remains powerful in imagination. It reminds us of something elemental, movement beneath sky. As this chapter settles, imagine the caravan has reached a resting place. Lanterns glow low against tent walls. The horses are untethered and allowed to graze. Stars shimmer with ancient patience overhead. The fire crackles softly. Voices grow quiet. And somewhere beyond the flicker of light, a single horse lifts its head and listens to the wind. There is no urgency now, only distance behind, only horizon ahead, and the steady rhythm of being alive within a turning world. Rest here a while. The wheel still turns, but tonight we move only as slowly as breath. In the year 1966, when the fire horse last appeared, the world was in the midst of great transformation. Cities hummed with electricity. Television screens flickered in living rooms. Music shifted toward new rhythms. Young people questioned old structures. Entire cultures felt themselves poised between what had been and what might become. Some called it a time of rebellion. Others saw it as awakening. In truth, it was both. Fire horse years carry this quality. They illuminate what has been waiting beneath the surface. They ask questions that have long gone unspoken. They challenge comfort not through destruction, but through revelation. And yet, within all that intensity, there were still quiet evenings. Still lullabies sung to sleepy children. Still gardens tended in the same careful way they had been for decades. Still elderly couples walking slowly together as dusk settled. The world did not burn. It simply became more visible. 60 years before that, in 1906, the fire horse arrived during another period of vast change. Automobiles were beginning to replace horses on city streets. Electricity was reshaping daily life. Old empires were beginning to fracture. New ideas of democracy, science, and art were spreading like sparks across continents. And there, too, life continued with both urgency and tenderness. History moves in waves, not straight lines. Fire horse years do not create transformation. They reveal it. They accelerate what is already stirring. They give permission to what has already begun. As 2026 unfolds, you may notice this rhythm in your own life. Perhaps there is something you have quietly considered for months. Perhaps there is a conversation you have rehearsed internally but never spoken aloud. Perhaps there is a path you have imagined but hesitated to step onto. The fire horse does not demand action. It simply makes space for it. And space in itself is a kind of invitation. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a wide meadow as dawn begins. The grass is cool beneath your feet. The sky lightens slowly from deep indigo to pale gold. In the distance, barely visible through morning mist, a horse stands perfectly still. It does not approach. It does not flee. It simply waits, embodying possibility without pressure. You could walk toward it. You could turn and walk away. You could remain exactly where you are and simply watch the sunrise. All of these are valid. The fire horse asks nothing of you except awareness. As the weeks and months unfold through 2026, let yourself notice what feels aligned. What feels like movement forward? What feels like staying rooted? Both can be true. Both can be honored. Fire does not only destroy, it also warms. It illuminates. It gathers people together in circles of shared light. Throughout history, horses have been symbols of companionship as much as independence. A rider and horse move together, not as master and servant, but as partners who listen to each other's rhythms. A skilled rider does not force. They guide. They respond. They trust. Perhaps this year asks for that kind of partnership with yourself. Gentle guidance rather than harsh demands. Listening to your own rhythms rather than external pressures. Trusting that movement, when it comes, will feel clear. In traditional Chinese cosmology, the horse is associated with the south, the direction of summer, warmth, and fullness. It corresponds to the hour when the sun reaches its peak. It embodies yang energy at its brightest. And yet, even at noon, there are shadows. Even at summer's height, autumn is preparing quietly in the roots of trees. The zodiac does not ask us to become only one thing. It invites us to notice the interplay of opposites. Fire and water, stillness and motion, boldness and caution. The horse gallops freely across open plains, yes, but it also returns to the herd at nightfall. It rests. It grazes. It stands quietly with others beneath stars. Independence does not mean isolation. Freedom does not mean disconnection. As this chapter softens into the next, imagine the meadow now bathed in golden afternoon light. The horse has moved closer, not urgently, but with the slow ease of trust being built. You sit in the grass. Your breathing has slowed. The world feels expansive yet intimate. A breeze moves through the tall grasses, bending them gently. The sound is like distant water. Time feels different here, not measured in hours, but in sensations. The warmth of sun on skin, the rustle of wind, the occasional bird call drifting across distance. The fire horse year does not rush you. It simply offers space within which you can move at your own pace. And now, as the day begins its slow descent toward evening, we turn our attention to something quieter still. To the ways people have sought to harmonize with the energies of the year. To rituals not as superstition, but as intention made visible. Throughout East Asia, the turning of the Lunar New Year has always been accompanied by small acts of preparation. Homes are cleaned, not only for tidiness, but as a symbolic sweeping away of old stagnation. Red paper is hung to invite vitality. Offerings of fruit, incense, and flowers are arranged with care. These are not magical formulas. They are gestures, ways of saying to ourselves and to the universe, we are ready, we are paying attention, we are participating in the turning of the cycle. In recent years, many have woven together traditional symbols with personal practices. Some might place small objects on a table in the southeast corner of their home. Citron for clarity, perhaps, or images that represent growth. Not because these objects hold power in themselves, but because they serve as reminders of intentions. The act of arranging them is meditative. The presence of them is a gentle nudge toward mindfulness. Think of it like placing a favorite book on your nightstand. It does not force you to read, but it makes reading more likely. It keeps the intention close. In a fire horse year, the element of fire can be honored symbolically through candles, through warm colors, through anything that evokes warmth and light. Not to summon literal transformation, but to create an atmosphere conducive to it. Imagine lighting a single candle on a quiet evening. The flame flickers gently. You watch it for a few moments. In that small act, there is focus. There is presence. There is a soft acknowledgement that something is beginning. This is ritual at its simplest, attention-given form. If you feel drawn to such practices, approach them lightly. There is no perfect way to do this. There is no scorecard. There is only your own sincere engagement with the symbols that resonate. Perhaps you place a small object somewhere you will see it daily. A stone, a coin, a photograph. Perhaps you write a few words on paper and tuck them somewhere safe. Perhaps you simply pause each morning and take 3 slow breaths, imagining yourself aligned with the energy of movement and renewal. These acts matter not because they change external reality directly, but because they change your internal orientation. And orientation, in turn, shapes how you move through the world. The horse, after all, moves best when it knows where it is going, not through rigid planning, but through clear intention. So too with us. As the evening deepens around our imagined meadow, the sky begins to blush with rose and amber. The horse grazes peacefully nearby. The air cools gently. Crickets begin their evening song. You feel no need to move. You feel no urgency to decide anything. You simply exist here, held by this moment, aware that the year ahead will unfold at its own pace. The fire horse does not demand greatness. It invites aliveness, and aliveness can be as quiet as breath. as simple as noticing light shift across a wall, as profound as allowing yourself to feel hope without needing to justify it. In the traditional understanding of the zodiac, each animal sign has natural affinities with others. The horse is said to harmonize well with the tiger and the dog, both of whom share a certain loyalty, warmth, and directness. With the goat, there is gentleness, a softening of the horse's intensity into something more nurturing. With the rat, however, there can be friction, different rhythms, different priorities. The rat is strategic and cautious. The horse is instinctive and bold. But these are tendencies, not prophecies. Humans are far more complex than any single symbol can capture. You are not only your birth year, you are also shaped by the month, the day, the hour, by your upbringing and your choices, by love and loss and small moments of grace that accumulate over time. The zodiac offers a lens, one way of seeing patterns, but it is not the only lens. If you find comfort in it, wonderful. If you find it curious but not compelling, that too is valid. If you have never thought about it before tonight, and likely will not again, you have still traveled this far in the story, and that is enough. The invitation is always the same. Notice what resonates. Release what does not. And now, as night settles fully over the meadow, stars begin to emerge. One by one, slowly filling the vast dark canvas above. The horse has wandered to the far edge of the field. You can barely see it now, only a silhouette against the faint glow of twilight on the horizon. It is still there, still present, but no longer demanding your attention. And perhaps this is the deepest teaching of all, that you can carry the energy of a symbol without clinging to it. You can honor a cycle without being controlled by it. You can move with intention without rigidity. The fire horse year will come and go, as all years do. Seasons will turn, months will blur together, days will accumulate into memory, and through it all you will continue, breathing, feeling, choosing, resting. The wheel turns beneath you, but you are not the wheel. You are the stillness at the center, the quiet awareness that watches the turning without being swept away by it. As this long journey through the year of the horse begins to draw toward its close, let yourself settle even more deeply. Let your body soften into whatever surface holds you. Let your thoughts drift like leaves on slow water. There is nothing more you need to understand. There is nothing more you need to remember. The horse will gallop or it will graze. The fire will blaze or it will glow softly. The year will unfold in whatever way it must. And you will be here, breathing steadily, held by rhythms older than language. The zodiac is vast and intricate, yes. It weaves through dynasties and migrations, through art and agriculture, through private hopes and collective mythologies. But at its heart, it is simple. It is a way of saying, time is alive, patterns recur. You are part of something larger, and in being part of something larger, you are never truly alone. Even now, as you rest in darkness or soft lamplight, somewhere a lantern is glowing. Somewhere a family is gathering. Somewhere someone is lighting incense and whispering a small wish into the turning year. You are connected to all of this, not through belief necessarily, but through being human, through sharing this strange, brief, precious existence on a turning planet beneath infinite stars. The horse has disappeared now into full night. The meadow is dark. The stars are brilliant, You close your eyes. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out even more slowly. And in that exhalation, you release everything: worry, expectation, the need to control what cannot be controlled. The fire horse year will be what it will be. You will meet it as you are, and that will be enough. The ancient will turn silently in the background of all our lives. Rat to ox to tiger to rabbit, dragon to snake to horse to goat, monkey to rooster to dog to pig, and then back again, endless, patient, indifferent to our anxieties. It simply continues, as do you, through joy and sorrow, through clarity and confusion, through fire horse years and water rabbit years, and every elemental variation in between. You continue, and tonight, as lanterns glow somewhere far away and close at hand, as the moon prepares to renew itself once more, as the calendar shifts and the cycle begins again, you are exactly where you need to be, breathing quietly, held gently, safe within the turning. The horse runs free across distant plains. The fire burns low. The stars keep their silent watch. And you, beloved traveler, drift softly into rest. May the year of the fire horse bring you clarity without harshness, movement without exhaustion, passion without recklessness, freedom without isolation. May you gallop when the path is clear and rest when your body asks for stillness. May you honor both the fire and the calm. May you trust the wheel to turn without forcing it. And may you sleep now, deeply and peacefully, knowing that the great cycle holds you. Just as it has held every human who has ever paused beneath stars and wondered what the year ahead might bring. The wondering is enough. The breath is enough. You are enough. Rest now. The horse is already running toward dawn. And when you wake, the world will still be here. Turning, waiting, welcoming you home. And so we arrive at the end of our journey together, though endings are never quite what they seem. The wheel does not stop. The cycle continues. We simply pause here, letting the story settle like dust after a long caravan has passed. We began with lanterns glowing in winter darkness. We end with stars still shining overhead. Between these 2 points of light, we have traveled through centuries and symbols, through myth and memory, through the patient turning of time itself. The Chinese Zodiac is at its heart a way of seeing. 12 animals moving in endless rotation. Rat to ox to tiger to rabbit. Dragon to snake to horse to goat. Monkey to rooster to dog to pig. Each one a mirror. Each one a metaphor. Each one a way of understanding the shifting qualities of years, of seasons, of human temperament. It began not as fortune-telling, but as timekeeping. Ancient scholars watching Jupiter's slow arc across the heavens. The 12 earthly branches marking months and hours, and the double hours of a single day. Order emerging from observation. Pattern emerging from sky. Only later did the animals arrive, perhaps from older totems, perhaps as mnemonic tools, perhaps because humans have always needed stories to make sense of cycles. The rat clever and quick, the ox steady and strong, the tiger fierce and brave, each creature carrying qualities we recognize in ourselves and others. And beneath the 12 animals, a deeper layer still. The 5 elements weaving through. Wood and fire and earth and metal and water. Each year not only an animal, but an animal infused with elemental essence. A wood dragon different from a metal dragon. A fire horse different from a water horse. 60 years to complete the full cycle. 60 years before the pattern repeats. A human lifetime captured in a grand turning wheel. We heard the legend of the great race, where animals crossed a wide river to claim their places in the zodiac. The rat's cleverness, the ox's patience, the tiger's strength, the dragon's compassion delaying its arrival, the snake's quiet cunning, the horse galloping powerfully across, arriving in the bright heat of midday. We saw how the cat was lost to the cycle, swept away or betrayed, depending on which telling you believe. How enmity between cat and rat became part of the folklore. How legend shapes the way we understand sequence and relationship. We learned that the zodiac extends beyond years into daily life. Each animal governing a 2-hour segment of the day. Rat hour when midnight stirs. Horse hour when the sun reaches its zenith. Time itself breathing through 12 living forms. We explored how the system spread across cultures. Vietnam replacing rabbit with cat. Tibet substituting different birds. Regional variations blooming like flowers from a single root. The same essential pattern adapting to different soils. And then we turned our full attention to the horse. 7th in the cycle. Associated with summer and the south. With freedom and independence. With energy and movement and the wild joy of open plains. We saw the horse through history. The heavenly horses of the Han Dynasty, sought through war and alliance. The Tang sculptures showing robust steeds as symbols of prosperity. The Silk Road caravans where hooves meant connection, survival, the patient crossing of vast distances. We moved through the 5 elemental expressions of the horse. Wood bringing creativity and expansion. Fire bringing passion and intensity. Earth bringing stability and reliability. Metal bringing focus and determination. Water bringing intuition and depth. Each horse different. Each 60-year return carrying its own particular quality. And we arrived at last at 2026, the year of the fire horse. A combination that appears only once every 60 years. 1966 before this. 1906 before that. Each time arriving during periods of transformation, of questions rising to the surface, of old structures being illuminated by new light. Fire amplifies the horse's natural energy. It asks for boldness without recklessness, movement without exhaustion, passion balanced by awareness. It creates space for change but does not demand it. It illuminates possibility without forcing choice. We acknowledge that fire horse years in history were complex, not purely fortunate or unfortunate. Simply intense, revealing, accelerating what was already stirring beneath the surface of collective life. And we softened all of this intensity into something gentler, reminding ourselves that symbols serve us, not the other way around. That the zodiac offers one lens among many, that you are not defined by your birth year alone, but shaped by countless influences, choices, moments of grace. We spoke of ritual not as magic, but as intention made visible. Small acts of preparation, candles lit, objects placed with care, not to control fate, but to align ourselves with mindfulness, to create atmospheres conducive to the changes we wish to welcome. We explored compatibility lightly, noting that the horse harmonizes well with tiger and dog, finds gentleness with goat, and may encounter friction with rat. But we held these observations loosely, knowing humans are infinitely more complex than any system can capture. And through it all, we returned again and again to breath, to stillness, to the image of a meadow at twilight where a horse grazes peacefully, to stars emerging slowly overhead, to the quiet understanding that you are held by cycles larger than yourself. The zodiac teaches us that time is not linear, but circular, that patterns recur, that nothing is entirely new, yet nothing is exactly the same, that we move through phases just as the moon does, waxing and waning, bright and hidden, always changing, always constant. It reminds us that we are part of something ancient and ongoing, that every person who has ever paused to watch the turning of seasons, to mark the passage of years, to wonder what lies ahead, they are connected to us across time. The same stars that guided caravans across the Silk Road shine tonight. The same moon that determined Lunar New Year in the Han Dynasty will renew itself again in February. The same questions that humans asked centuries ago: how to live well, how to move through change, how to balance independence with connection, we ask them still. The horse in all its forms offers one answer: move when movement is called for. Rest when rest is needed. Gallop across open plains when the path is clear. Stand quietly in the herd when companionship matters more than speed. Trust your instincts, but temper them with awareness. Honor your freedom, but recognize your interdependence. Embrace intensity, but do not let it consume you. This is the wisdom of the fire horse. Not a command, but an invitation. Not a prophecy, but a possibility. As 2026 unfolds, you may find moments when you feel aligned with this energy. Days when boldness comes naturally. Conversations that needed to happen finally flowing freely. Projects that were waiting for the right moment suddenly becoming clear. You may also find moments of resistance. Times when the year's intensity feels overwhelming. When you need to step back, to ground yourself, to remember that not every gallop needs to be at full speed. Both are valid. Both are part of the cycle. The zodiac does not ask for perfection. It asks for participation, for showing up to your own life with curiosity and kindness, for noticing patterns without being imprisoned by them, for using ancient wisdom as a companion rather than a master. And now, as this long meditation draws to its close, let yourself feel the fullness of the journey we have taken together. From the glowing lanterns of Lunar New Year to the vast silence of a meadow beneath stars. From the great race across a mythical river to the quiet breath you are taking right now. All of it connected, all of it part of the same turning wheel. The horse runs free somewhere in the distance, barely visible now. Perhaps it is only a shadow. Perhaps it was always only a symbol. Perhaps it is both real and imagined, like all the stories we tell ourselves to make sense of time. It does not matter. What matters is the way the image settled something in you. The way the story created space for reflection. The way the rhythm of these words allowed your nervous system to slow, to soften, to release the day. The Chinese Zodiac has served this purpose for millennia, not as literal truth, but as meaningful pattern, not as fate, but as framework, a way of saying, you are not alone in your confusion, you are not alone in your hope, You are not alone in wondering how to move through this brief, mysterious existence. Others have wondered too, and they created systems to help. The zodiac is one such system. Imperfect like all human creations. Beautiful like all sincere attempts to understand. Flexible enough to adapt across centuries and cultures. Sturdy enough to still resonate in a world vastly different from the one that birthed it. As you rest now, let the 12 animals drift through your mind like a gentle parade. The rat scurrying cleverly, the ox plodding steadily, the tiger prowling boldly, the rabbit hopping gently, the dragon soaring majestically, the snake gliding wisely, the horse galloping freely, the goat grazing peacefully, the monkey playing cleverly, the rooster crowing proudly, the dog guarding loyally, the pig resting contentedly, each one a facet of being human, each one present in all of us at different moments. We are rat when we problem solve, ox when we persevere, tiger when we face fear, rabbit when we practice gentleness, dragon when we dream grandly, snake when we observe quietly, horse when we need freedom, goat when we create beauty, monkey when we play, rooster when we speak truth, dog when we protect what we love, pig when we allow ourselves simple pleasure. The wheel contains multitudes. And so we release you now into sleep, into dreams, into the quiet dark where transformation happens without effort, where the year turns whether we notice or not, where the horse gallops silently across inner landscapes we will not remember come morning. May you rest deeply. May you wake gently. May the year of the fire horse meet you exactly as you are. And may you move through it with the grace of someone who knows they are held by cycles, by symbols, by the patient turning of a wheel that began long before you were born and will continue long after you are gone. You are part of this wheel. You are also the still center watching it turn. Both truths can exist together, and in that paradox lies peace. The lanterns have dimmed now. The stars are impossibly bright. The horse has vanished into night. And you, traveler, listener, beloved human, you are safe here, breathing slowly, held gently. Part of the great turning, the wheel continues, the cycle endures, and you drift softly into rest. Sweet dreams.